I didn't realize that brand partnerships were going to be such a big part of my revenue. I thought it was going to be doing coaching and selling books and everything else. But pretty soon, outside of speaking, brand partnerships became about 60% of my revenue for my Fab Finance. And the
Mm.
issue I was running into was there's certain brands that I wanted to work with that weren't approaching me. And they were like, oh, you work with a financially mindful population. AKA, they ain't going to spend no money over here. So I was like, okay, I need to create a separate entity where the people will spend money. So I can work with the brands that are looking for people that will spend money, people who have money, people who've already made good financial decisions and they're willing to spend. So I just kind of took what I had done with my Fab Finance and used that in my personal brand, showing up consistently, documenting my lifestyle, documenting the journey, giving people opportunities to, I don't want to say buy in, but yeah, like buy into my experience, buy into my journey. And it's been like I've successfully monetized both of my brands with brand work. So I just finished a partnership with Staples, and one with One Medical, and that's my personal brand. One Medical. This year I've worked with like L'Oreal,
Dope.
Kiehl's. So I'm bringing in money in my personal brand, and in my Fab Finance, we have partnerships with Chase, Amazon, GM. So we have
Woo!
like major
See,
brand
now
partnerships.
you're bringing out the other side.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of First Generation Wealth Builders. Today, I got my friend and homie, mastermind, just like superwoman in the building, Miss Tanya Rapley.
Hey, Eric.
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
We was talking before this, and my goal is to really discover and get to know you because you're a dope super entrepreneur out here doing
Thank
super
you.
dope things. And man, like here on the podcast, basically my goal is to find out, interview dope people who do dope things in their relationship to real estate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we go.
Yeah. And it's timely because I actually just posted this morning that like 1 year of paying our mortgage as entrepreneurs. Like
Dope,
that was our first step. So
dope. And then basically we've talked
yes.
about your interest in
I mean, you
investing.
my mentor in real estate. You don't even know it. You're like, yes, absolutely.
I love it. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. So, man, for those who don't know, tell us, who is Tanya?
Yeah. As you said, I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I am a mother. I'm a wife. I came from a military background, worked in nonprofit before becoming an entrepreneur, started my business in the financial education space, and then used that as my bridge to my other interests and my other opportunities. So that really bought me my freedom. And now I, explore whatever I'm interested in. If I want to do this for a little bit, we're going to do this for a little bit because there are no limits.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Where you from originally?
That's an interesting question. So my parents were in the military.
Mhm.
So I was raised between Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. But I went to college and I lived in North Carolina for about 4.5, 5 years,
Mhm.
and then went to college in Miami, Florida. Lived in Miami, Florida, and then moved to New York City.
Gotcha.
And I lived in New York City for 9 years. So I lived in New York City longer than anywhere that I've lived. So I truly am like a citizen of, I guess, the United States. I've lived in so many
I mean,
places.
not a
Yeah.
citizen.
Citizen of the United States, really, because I've lived in so many different places. I always say that Charlotte, North Carolina made me, but like New York City grew me. New York City definitely like matured me and grew me.
So a lot of people say, like, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
I mean, maybe because I lived there and I bought into it,
Mhm.
but I honestly believe that after I built my business in New York and became a full-time entrepreneur in New York, I really was like, put me anywhere. Put me anywhere. Not necessarily Grant Cardone level just yet. Like you ain't gonna drop me
Just
in
yet.
Wyoming, and I'm gonna figure it out. But we moved to LA after New York City, and I was like, we ready. Like,
That's like hot and cold, ain't it?
yeah. And then when we moved to Atlanta, I was like,
Too easy.
too easy. Too easy. Yeah.
Got you. So, like, tell me about like your transition out of college. What was that like?
Transition out of college. So my parents both in military. My mom and dad were career military, so they both retired out the military. It was really focused on go get a good government job. So my undergrad degree was public administration because my thought was that I was going to become a foreign services officer. And so I ended up graduating, and at that time I was also in an abusive relationship.
Gotcha. Where'd you go to school at real quick?
Florida International
Okay,
University
gotcha.
in
Okay.
Miami. So I was in that abusive relationship, and when I left that relationship, I went home. Like I went home to regroup. My last year was when I ended up finally leaving that relationship. Went home for a couple of months to regroup and worked in a call center for a telecommunications company. And I worked as a purchasing agent for a seafood distributor. So none of this was in nonprofit. None of this was foreign service officer related. But I was just trying to figure it out because I graduated at the height of the recession. Like 2007 was when I graduated from college. Recession happened in 2008.
Gotcha.
So like not the height, but leading up to the height of the
Right.
recession. So I ended up losing my first 2 jobs out of college. Like got laid off from the food purchaser job, got another job as an inventory analyst for the Lowe's home improvement stores, got fired from that job. That's the only job I've ever been fired from. Got fired from that job because I was traveling to New York City, and we could work from home 1 day a week, and they didn't want us to work out of state. They like actually were tracking our computers, and I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
So I had just gotten a raise and everything, and they were like, "So you were in New York City and working and didn't tell us, so we're gonna have to let you go." But it's the best thing that could have happened to me because I ended up leaving that, taking that unemployment and moving to New York City with $500 in my bank account.
You going to New York, you probably can't even buy lunch for $500 in New York with $500.
Listen, I did. Like, and you know, when I think about what I made work, I don't ever want to be back in that place again. Ever. Like,
I understand. You
like,
got trauma.
and I actually, like, I was living my life, but I just look at what my overhead is now compared to then and how convenient my life is. And a lot of people ask me what led me to become a financial educator, what led me to my journey. And it was because I don't like being inconvenienced. I like a convenient life. So I'll spend more money for convenience.
I love it.
Like, I'm not the person who's going to be driving. Like, when I started my Fat Finance, I remember a lot of people were like on that frugal dumpster diving. I'm gonna drive across town to save some money on gas. That was never my MO, ever. Mine was just like, I want to have enough money to do what I want to do and live how I want to live. And I want to make the right financial decisions to get me there.
Got you.
Yeah.
So take me into that. Like, so you move to New York with $500. What's the next move? Like what's going on?
I got a nonprofit job that was toxic. Like, you would think that my previous jobs in the for-profit sector were toxic, but that nonprofit job was like, I would be outside listening to like Mobb Deep going in because it really felt like I was listening to Mobb Deep, Hell on Earth, going into work because it was like, we are going into battle today. Like, what does she have for us? It was awful.
Classic.
I would be outside crying. I called my mom, like, because it was the type of boss who would send us like emails before we even got into the office. Just set the tone before we got there. Like, it's about to be a fucked up day. And be like, God. So I got that job, ended up working there and started my business, my nonprofit then. I started my company, My Fat Finance, then while working there.
So what was Fat Finance?
My Fat Finance started out as a blog. Started out as like an accountability partner for me improving my finances. Then I went to this financial blogger conference, and a woman on the panel said she made $35,000 that month. I was like, I'm making $37,000 a year. Let me figure this thing out.
What, before you go too far, what kind of like stimulated that idea?
My Fat Finance? So My Fat Finance started, I tried to get an apartment in New York City, and they told me I needed a guarantor that made 80 times my rent. 80 times. Who?
Where?
Who? My mom was like, yeah, that's not us.
That was discrimination.
Yeah, my mom was like, that's not us. So I was like, you need to get your credit together. And it was because I had bad credit from being in my abusive relationship. I actually had good credit before I met my abusive ex, but like just made a lot of bad financial decisions, and the bills were all on me. And so I was like, I need to untangle this mess that I got myself into so that I can get my own place. So that was one of the reasons I started My Fat Finance. And then also, I almost got into a fight with one of my roommates.
You don't look like a fighter.
I know. It's the Gemini. I almost got into a fight with one of my roommates, and I was talking to my sister, and she's like, you too grown to have roommates anyway. And I was like, my sister's younger than me. Like, at this point, she's like maybe 23. I was like, what? And I was like, you know what? She's actually kind of right, though. Just go get your own place. And you aren't getting your own place because your credit is messed up. Let's fix that. And so my Fab Finance was me like documenting my journey to improving my credit score to 750 by the time I turned 30 years old. That was my goal. And I wanted to get free clothes from Macy's. Like, that was all I wanted, was good credit and free clothes from Macy's.
Gotcha.
And ended up getting a business out of it. Ended up, like, I went to that conference and the woman was talking about like the different ways she was making money. I was like, I'm gonna get a business coach. I'm gonna figure out how to do this. And that was 2014.
Okay.
It was September of 2014. I went to that conference. I quit my job September of 2015. Took me a year.
Awesome.
Took me a year.
Awesome. Have you had a job since?
It depends on what one defines as a job.
Okay.
Because now my income streams with my Fab Finance largely are brand partnerships.
Gotcha.
And that sometimes can feel like a job because I am answering to someone.
Understood.
But I am still able to decide whether I want to take the partnership. I can put my foot down and say, like, no, I don't want to create content in this manner. I'm not available to shoot at this time. So they do still have to bend to my whims. But no, and I don't foresee myself going back to work because at this point, nobody can afford me.
You're unemployable.
I'm unemployable, and I'm unemployable because no one can afford me. And the way that the work structure is set up, I'm not buying back into that. I'm not like, I'm about to sit in your office and hope I can make $100,000 a year when I can make $100,000 without leaving my house. No.
Speak, sis. All right. So what's the next endeavor that you dive into?
After I started my Fab Finance?
Yeah.
There were a few things along the way. I was part of I ended up joining up with some people on a fintech startup. That kind of didn't get legs because we realized we didn't have a minimal viable product. So we decided to close that. I was the co-founder of a cannabis startup called Inclusive.
Gotcha.
With the goal of driving diversity and inclusion in the cannabis
Tanya,
space.
You be blowing leaves. Classic. I love it.
So Inclusive.
This is a safe space.
Thank you.
This is not toxic. We can talk, sis.
So Inclusive. I mean, I lived in LA.
Hey, man,
I lived in LA.
You. I'm just like, okay.
I don't like, nobody can judge me because I'm about my business. My family's happy.
If you're judging us, judge your mama. Let's go. Let's go.
So Inclusive it's still around and it's doing really well. I was a co-founder of that. And so we wanted to drive diversity and inclusion in the cannabis space because a lot of times when we looked at imagery of people who consume cannabis, it was like Snoop or like they just had a bad representation of what cannabis consumers look like. And we're like, no, we're professional. We're about our business. We're family oriented. And so came in as a co-founder of Inclusive. But that was starting to mess with my finance money because as like finance partners, they vet you, like especially my brand partnerships. At this point, my brand partnerships are like $85,000 brand partnerships. And they're coming and saying, we might not be able to work with you because of your work in the cannabis space. It's still a Schedule I drug. And so I was like, y'all, I'm stepping back because there's not enough money in this for me to mess up my money. So Inclusive is still around. My co-founder, Mary Pryor, is doing excellent work with it. Awesome. But I decided to step away from that, focused on my Fab Finance for a while, had my son, and then we purchased an e-commerce business, Club Lufa.
Got you. Man, coming into this, Mike, I ain't know we was about to go talk to the plug, my guy. like
I know some things and I know some people.
Hey, we gonna title this joint The Plug. Put a little weed leaf on the bottom.
You will not do that to my podcast.
like you know what I'm saying? Then we gonna start it off with a little clip hook say, judge your mama. Therefore that when their brand sponsors come through, they know, like, ooh. All right, so then you purchased a company.
Yeah.
So all right, tell us about that.
So, I wanted to, my Fab Finance is a service-based business. And I wanted to have a product-based business, but I didn't want to start it from scratch. And so
why?
I just didn't want to do the work. I did not want to do the work to start something from scratch. Just like plug me in.
So where did you discover this company?
Shopify Exchange.
Gotcha.
A lot of people don't realize Shopify Exchange, for people who want to sell their Shopify store, they can list it on the Shopify Exchange. So this person had listed their store and they were actually located in California. They were selling the inventory and everything. So we bought the company for under $10,000.
Wow.
All the inventory and everything.
What was the yearly revenue for the company?
At that point, the yearly revenue, I want to say was like $36,000.
And the EBITDA was, do you remember?
I'm sorry?
The EBITDA?
I don't know what EBITDA is.
So EBITDA is like how they evaluate companies.
I
It's okay. This ain't
See,
for
but
class.
that's things I need to learn because I got into it. I was like, y'all got subscriptions? Cool. What's the revenue? Cool. All right, let's do this.
What's
There's
the
a lot more
margins like?
questions. Huh?
What are their margins like?
The margins, see, that's the thing. Their margins were terrible.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we've been working on. The company is increasing the AOV
Gotcha.
because they, it's a great concept.
What's the AOV for those listening?
So average order value.
Understood.
So the average order value, that also helps dictate your margins per order.
Okay.
Because it's a loofah, and so it's a very low priced item, our bath sponges and everything else. But they were selling these loofahs for $4.99 with free shipping. Like at this point, free shipping
was eating up the profit.
So that was one of the first things we did. We started charging shipping for the products.
Did that cause resistance in the orders?
So we did grandfather new people, the existing customers in. We
Understood.
grandfathered existing customers in, but anybody else coming in was going to be charged for shipping.
When did you purchase this?
I purchased a company 2019, November 2019, because it was a week of my son's first birthday.
Got you. All right. So how's that experience been with that? Have you been able to grow it? What were some of your challenges?
Yeah, we've been able to grow it. We definitely have grown it. I know like last year, I mean, our profit, we increased profit by like 200% last year around Black Friday, like around December. It's fun because I get to shop, I get to buy things, I get to sell it to my consumers. I'm learning. It has stretched me to a different area of my brain. And I also feel like there's seasons in my businesses that I focus on different businesses. So at that point, my Fab Finance was kind of operating on autopilot. And so I was able to focus on Club Loofah for about 3 months consistently. But then my Fab Finance coming around, I decided to change some things up with my Fab Finance. So that took the focus. And then my husband, we purchased a company together. So he took the lead in Club Loofah. Right now, we're in a space where he's back taking the lead with Club Loofah as we roll out our new body care products because we want to increase our average order value. So we're adding body care products to it, adding bundles and different things that will push that average order value up and thinking about our sales strategy.
Okay.
So it's definitely stretched a different side of my brain. Like doing customer service on a physical product is different from customer service on a service or digital product. Because if a digital product, here, let me just email it to you.
Right.
Physical product, they want you to go track it down with USPS. It's like, whose responsibility is this? I delivered it to the post office.
Right.
We got it to the post office. That's your post office.
Your energy changed. Where the weed at, bro?
it's so I also realized that I took myself out the customer service flow. I hired a customer service representative to take me out because every morning I was like, bro, what's the problem today? Who complaining about their $4.99 product today? Yeah, but it is a learning lesson and I'm looking forward to expanding it and growing it.
Got you. I think we're in the same place because I have an e-commerce business. And so
But you made millions. We're not the same.
Stop that.
We're not the same.
But I have a team. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So you do have to have those people in place to kind of service, to obtain that retention and make sure that the customer experience is good. Because things do happen, and unfortunately, we're not part of UPS, but they do affect our business.
They do.
So
and
you
the
do
prices go up.
Man.
Yeah, I got an email this morning about postage increasing.
Mhm.
But so anybody who is wondering whether, the grass is greener on the e-commerce side or the service-based side, having done both, I do prefer service-based. It's more challenging to scale service-based if you don't have the right structures in place or the right
Facts.
format for your business. But I like convenience. Service-based is very convenient for me. E-commerce,
Understood.
like if you don't drop ship, you hold an inventory.
Mhm.
You're dealing with sourcing. Literally last night, I was placing orders for our new washcloths. I'm like, I just want to go to sleep. So
Oh, you ain't want to shop last night,
I didn't want to shop last night. I did enough. I just came off a 3-week vacation.
Tanya.
I did
I ain't
enough.
gonna let this go, but you should have hit the blunt before shopping, and you would have been cool.
And it changed. My relationship to smoking did change when I had my son. Because anybody who's had a newborn, you gotta be like
Fair enough.
up. And so I do prefer sativas. I am a sativa consumer. And then when we left LA, it's just different. It's
Got you.
here. It's like, well, it's not necessarily legal in Georgia. So explaining to
I love
somebody,
the fact that you're being so vulnerable with me right now. I really do.
and explaining to somebody, hey, do you have like the Clementine strain? Because that's my favorite one. They're like, the what? Girl, I got this Kush. I got get your weed bougie self out of here. So it's very different. It's very
classic.
different. Yeah.
Got you. Now, so during this time, are you in New York or LA?
I'm in When
When you
we
acquired the
bought Club
business.
Loofah,
Yes.
we were in LA.
Got you. All right. Tell me about why did you make the move to LA?
LA, I wanted to change the scenery. New York, I love the energy of New York, but the energy of New York becomes exhausting, especially for someone who is from the South. Or I wanted to ride in my own car. And I have my own car in New York, but riding in the streets of New York is not like driving down the highway. And I just got tired of being cold. Honestly, I was like, it's cold. The people, the energy of New York was starting to weigh on me. I always wanted to live in California. Let's just go. We can go. Let's just go. My husband is in film and entertainment. So we looked at different areas and different markets that he could work in. LA was a good move because he was already working in LA quite consistently.
Awesome.
So we just picked up and moved.
Got you. What area?
We lived in Inglewood.
Okay, got you. All right.
I always we went to LA and we looked at a bunch of different areas, and I was like, I can always drive to bougie LA. Like I can always drive to that, but I want my neighbors to be like folks. I want my neighbor we had down the street, down the hall, we see like the OGs and everything else. Like my neighbors were like LA residents.
Tanya, I wasn't ready for this. I'm gonna be honest with you. You already talking about Crips and Bloods low key.
No.
I was not ready. I didn't know you was thugged out.
No, but that's one thing I loved about LA when we first got there. I'd be at the gym working out and everything, and somebody would come up to you and they have the most manners, but they bang. You'd be like, I know you bang, but you are very cordial. I really enjoyed LA. We actually lived not far from we were off of La Brea near Centinela, and right across from Ladera Heights in that area. And it was actually off Slauson, near Slauson too. And when I moved to LA was actually when I started listening to Nipsey. Because it's you can't be in LA. You can't be in that area. You can't be basically off of Slauson and not listen to Nip.
Right.
And it was I think every place I've lived has shaped me to an extent. And LA definitely, even though I was only there for 3 years.
Got you. And so when did you come to Atlanta?
Last year. We bought our house sight unseen during the pandemic.
Sight unseen.
We pandemic hit. Being entrepreneurs, we didn't know what was going to happen to our money.
Understood.
Our contracts. It was our finances are good now. Our taxes are good now. Let's go ahead and apply for a mortgage. Got approved for our mortgage. They said, you got 3 months. I was like, we buying a house in these 3 months because we don't know what's going to happen.
Got you.
And we knew we would pay our mortgage. So we ended up buying our house. We didn't see it. We only did a FaceTime tour. And it was crazy trying to get houses during that time.
Tell me about how you felt doing that.
I'm a risky person.
Okay.
So I was like, we don't like it, we can sell it.
It's a process.
We ain't stuck, but
Right.
we aren't stuck. I can
Facts.
rent it out. There's other things. So I was like, let's
like
just,
that.
because our goal initially was to come look at areas, but I knew that the area I moved to, I knew I wanted to live there. I
Okay.
knew I visited a friend there, so I knew I wanted to buy a house in that area.
Understood.
Google Earthed it, walked around the neighborhood with Google Earth. I was like, just go ahead and buy the house.
Okay.
And we're really happy with our house. There's certain things I would do differently, like I would get a basement.
Before we get into it, though, just as a real estate investor, you can do the same thing to acquire real estate like that.
Yes.
And especially when you're out of state. But the one thing you want to make sure when you Google Earth, though, you have to hit, how you take the little man and put it on the road?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so when you put the little man on there, and they're probably thinking I'm on some BS, but you really grab the little man and put him on the road, and you can walk.
You can actually walk him.
So when you do that, you have to hit the left corner, and you'll be able to hit a timeline. Because you have to make sure that when you're looking at the home, you're not looking at a picture from 2016.
So you can see the development and everything else.
100%. So that's a strategy that you have to, when you Google Earth houses on when you're searching, the one thing you want to make sure though that you look at the timeline and you look at when's the last time the Google car went around there.
Oh my goodness. Do they let you see different times a day too?
Yeah, yes. They let you see different years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can see what type of development is happening. You can see what's happening with the community and everything.
In most cases, you could see it every 2 to 3 years, but you want to pay attention.
I don't know why I've been more hesitant to buy a real estate investment sight unseen than I was to buy my house. Now,
I want to say a joke, but I'm not. So we gonna keep shit. All right. So you come back, you in the A, you get settled. What type of businesses are you into right now? What you got going on?
So right now, My Fab Finance is still one of my core businesses. Launched my personal brand because one of the things I realized with My Fab Finance, I started my personal brand before I had my son. And everything is done with intention. I was like, I know my audience is not going to necessarily care about my entire pregnancy journey necessarily if they're here for finance, but some people are bought into me as a brand. And I also like didn't want to pay for a lot of stuff when I was pregnant. My son, I was like, I'm not paying for my stroller. I'm not paying for my crib. Brands are going to send me this stuff. So I started my personal brand for that purpose. But now it's grown into a space where I can share more about the behind the scenes as an entrepreneur, as a mompreneur, and designing a life that you love. Because teaching personal finance, I met a lot of people who were so hyper focused on their financial goals that they lost sight of what made them happy. Like now they have all this money and they don't know what they're passionate about. They've been living on other people's timelines. They haven't really focused in on what would I do if money wasn't an option for me. So I've created a platform that allows women to design their lives and design like what do I want it to look like? How am I being intentional? Do I want a nanny? Do I want a chef? What do I want? And like outside of what everyone has told me is possible, what do I want if anything was possible? So that's what I've been focused on my personal brand. So we just launched our first 30-day cohort in that, and it's been amazing.
Dope. Congratulations.
Amazing. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us about that. Tell us about the 30-day cohort.
Yeah, it's a 30-day shift because if anybody has watched this, I've made a lot of life shifts, whether it was moving and everything else. And so it's helping people plan their next shift powerfully. So that is getting clear on your core values, clearing out some of the clutter, and creating a new foundation for you to build on, and then taking action, like saying what you want and starting to take action on what you want. Because I think a shortcoming of a lot of these like New Year or empowerment events is they get you thinking and they motivate you, but they don't create space for you to take action. So it is taking action and building that momentum so that after the 30 days, you have started to set the progress and set the tone for what you want for your life.
Got you. I want to go back to then go forward. One thing that I heard you say, but I didn't want to interrupt, you talk a lot about personal brand. Then you was just like, I'm not paying for the crib. I'm not paying for that. Tell me about like that process because I'm expecting a child.
Yeah.
And I already bought the crib and I bought that. And so maybe like, if you're listening, you can sponsor me and but tell me about that. Like, how did that start? How did you tap into other brands supporting and sponsoring you as a mompreneur?
So when I started My Fab Finance, I didn't realize that brand partnerships were going to be such a big part of my revenue. I thought it was going to be doing coaching and selling books and everything else. But pretty soon, outside of speaking, brand partnerships became about 60% of my revenue for My Fab Finance. And the issue I was running into was there's certain brands that I wanted to work with that weren't approaching me. And they were like, oh, you work with a financially mindful population. AKA, they ain't going to spend no money over here. So I was like, okay, I need to create a separate entity where the people will spend money. So I can work with the brands that are looking for people that will spend money. People who have money, people who've already made good financial decisions and they're willing to spend. So I just kind of took what I had done with My Fab Finance and used that in my personal brand, showing up consistently, documenting my lifestyle, documenting the journey, giving people opportunities to, I don't want to say buy in, but yeah, like buy into my experience, buy into my journey. And it's been like I've successfully monetized both of my brands with brand work. So I just finished a partnership with Staples, and one with One Medical, and that's my personal brand. One Medical. This year I've worked with like L'Oreal, Kiehl's. So I'm bringing in money in my personal brand, and in My Fab Finance, we have partnerships with Chase, Amazon, GM.
Woo!
So we have like major brand partnerships.
Now you're bringing out the other side.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like mindful of what I reveal because it's kind of like everything isn't for every audience, everything isn't for everything, and I'm not going to mess up my brand partnership.
No doubt. Now, I will say this, though. Like, you said Chase, Amazon. Like, those are heavy accounts. Those are not, I can't walk in at Chase and say, sponsor me.
Yeah.
Do you have an agent?
I do. I have an agent.
Understood.
A lot of times brands will approach me because that's like they know to work with influencers. They know that our audience trusts us more than if they just promote it. And we also have a different content lens of how we would promote the information to our audience. So I do have an agent. We work two ways. If he brings a partner to me, he gets more percentage. If I bring it to him to negotiate, he gets a lesser percentage because I brought the deal to the table.
Right.
But my agent, I've seen my agent take deals that were like, they tried to come in like, okay, we have like 7,500 for this. And he like, next thing you know, he's like, okay, I got 55K out of him. I'm like, well done. Well done, Adam. And so it's
big shouts out to Adam.
Yeah, Adam works hard. He has other people that he represents. Gotcha. But I'm not with a large, like some people work with these big agencies. he's like a more boutique agent.
Fair
And
enough.
I love that because I've been working with him for 4 years now. And, he's been each step of the way and we have that honesty with each other. And that's, it's been a good year. Last year
No.
was a good year. He sent me a bottle of Dom. This year, we're definitely going to do, just in brand partnerships, probably together, over 700,000 in brand partnerships together.
That's
So
different.
yeah, so
That's
he,
different.
what you sending me this year, Adam? What you sending me? That's
Hey,
what I want to know.
hey, when we get this link, we gonna send it directly to Adam.
Yes, but he's awesome. I've actually introduced him to other people because there's a power in allowing someone else who knows the market to advocate for you.
Mm.
And there is like, they do all the, I don't want to say the dirty work, but they go in and be like, no, absolutely not. And then you get to show up and be like, so how's everybody doing? I'm ready. Let's go ahead and tape. So I like having that separation too, because I'm not the one who has to show up and just like knock people around. Adam does that for me. And
That's
then I
beautiful.
step in.
So who would you encourage, that's listening to take that avenue to start building a brand? Because it's not for everybody, right?
It's not.
You
It's
know,
not.
and what type of individual should like take that avenue? Because obviously you're doing well with it, and that's inspiring. The growth that you're talking about. Like who should like kind of like visit that area?
It's not for everybody. I feel like I'm able to be my authentic self and that appeals to brands, but there are some people who like, I'm also kind of still a safe choice. Every now and again, I get off of script, but I'm still kind of a safe choice. So you have to decide, do you want your life to be scrutinized by a potential brand partner? Because they are going to do their research on you. I remember I was doing a partnership with a major insurance company and they were like, we got to do a background check. Like they had to look through all my stuff and everything, search and I've lost brand deals because they're like, yeah, she posted this and we didn't like that. Like it was around the election and I think I was going to go to a doctor and I found out he was a Trump supporter. And I tweeted, I was like, yeah, that man was probably going to try to kill me. And like, they were like, so we can't work with her because she tweets things like this. And I was like, okay, cool.
Understood.
But you have to be mindful. Like with brand work, then they're really going to look at how you're showing up online.
I
So
appreciate that you can still just look at it as criticism.
yeah,
to better yourself.
yeah. And I was just like, cool. That was the truth.
I mean, at least you got to still stand on your 10 toes.
Yes.
There it is.
So with that, and then, you build to it. You build your brand partnership experience. Like some people, I think they want to jump out the gate. Like, okay, first brand partner, I want $15,000. Sometimes you got to show them what you're capable of and do 1,500 and blow that out the water like they're paying you $15,000 and then work your way up, build your audience. So it's not necessarily the fast play, but if someone already has an audience, then maybe look at things like who would be willing to sponsor content on my platform or who could benefit from aligning themselves with me.
Got you. So my takeaway is also, from hearing you speak, is also as you are progressing as an individual, one, document it, two, understand your audience, therefore that you understand what type of value you're giving the brand.
Yes, understand your audience at all times. Understand your audience at all times because then there'll be brand partnerships that might not be in alignment with your audience. I've turned a lot of things down like that just doesn't make sense for us.
Understood.
It's a paycheck, but it doesn't make sense for us. So it's that, and it's being consistent. You can't post once a week and think you're going to be a solid brand partner. They want to see you creating content regularly because that's what they're paying you for essentially is content creation.
Got you. Where's most of like your content, your following held at?
Instagram.
Understood.
And I've tried to diversify into other things, but I just don't have the bandwidth. I want to be on LinkedIn. I don't have the bandwidth. I want to do TikToks.
They trying to get me on TikTok. I just be like, brother, y'all know how exhausted I am.
Like, honestly, I did just hire someone though, who she writes out all of my TikTok content. Like literally to the point where I just got to record it.
Got you.
And I record the video, send it to her. She edits it, puts the words in it, everything, and then sends a finished file back to me.
Tanya, you are the done for you queen.
I have a nanny.
Ain't no wrong with
cooks 3 meals a day for me, 5 days a week. The only thing I haven't automated is my laundry. And I'm about ready to go back to the days of like when I lived in New York, I would just drop my laundry up and wash and fold. And I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to go back to that.
So a lot of people would be like, must be nice. I don't have the money to do that. Because I did that before. I have had a chef. And I used to tell people like the time it saves me and the time I can apply to do other things to continue growing is so much beneficial. It costs more for me to cook than it does for me to pay for somebody to be there.
Because you got to be worrying about what am I going to cook? What ingredients I need? Do I got to go to the store? And here's the other thing, Eric, is a lot of people underestimate the importance of eating for your energy needed as an entrepreneur. And a lot of entrepreneurs run themselves down because they're not eating properly. They're not properly caring for themselves. They're eating junk food. And so they're not feeding their body. And that was also important for me too, in having to make sure that I'm eating good food that sustains the energy that I need to show up in my businesses.
I love it.
So my mom is always like, so what can't you eat now? Because I don't eat gluten.
Okay.
All my meat has to be like organic, farm raised, like antibiotic free. I don't eat dairy. I eat very minimal processed foods, like maybe salad dressing might be the most I eat in processed foods, and everything else. And so I have dietary guidelines that I eat by. I don't do a lot of sugar. I don't drink juice, just water. So it's important for me to have someone who can like fit within those two.
Definitely.
Because it can be a lot when I'm trying to figure out what kind of meal do I want to make today, even though I don't eat all these things, because I wasn't raised that way.
Got you.
So my default is to cook some stuff that I was taught to cook.
No doubt.
So it's been good. It's been really helpful.
Got you. So now about to bounce back forward as far as how you're empowering women. You had your 30-day thing. Like, what can women get out of that? Like, as far as like, what's your goal with it?
The goal is for women to have the confidence, like to plan their vision and have the confidence to believe that they are the people or the person that is needed to execute that vision. A lot of people have goal trauma, where we've set New Year's resolutions or we set these goals and they didn't work out, so we don't want to set goals anymore because we were traumatized by the disappointment.
Understood.
So helping people overcome that goal trauma, and then understanding what obstacles are going to come up and planning for those obstacles, as well as creating boundaries. A lot of people have an issue creating boundaries because they believe it makes them appear like selfish, or I don't want to say narcissistic, but it makes them appear like less than generous, or the way that they want to come off to the world, when it actually, like, having boundaries is being generous to yourself, because it allows you to show up for what you want to show up for.
Fair.
So it's helping them create boundaries and things that help them guide their life. But actually, so they look up and like, I'm living the life that I wanted to create. I'm not living someone else's life. Like, where am I? They don't wake up and say, where am I? They wake up and say, I'm exactly where I want to be.
Gotcha.
So that's the goal of my program.
Got you. Where can somebody listening find get involved with you with this?
Yeah, so not myfabfinance.com, Tonya.Rapley, or Tonya.Rapley on Instagram.
You want to spell that? They're going to misspell your last name.
Yeah, I know they are, because it's not Rapley. It's Tonya, TONYA.RAPLEY. That's my website as well, TanyaRapley.com. And, I've been buying my domains and everything. We're setting some things up. I just released a class, Financially Preparing to Be Your Own Boss. That's at bossupandout.com, BOSS. Up-and-out.com.
What's that about right there?
So that class is about helping you financially prepare for entrepreneurship, if you're a new entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur. Because there's so many business classes out here talking about how to grow your business, how to scale your business. But I don't think there are enough classes out here talking about how to manage your money as an entrepreneur so you can remain an entrepreneur. It's like, all right, you made $1 million, but what's your overhead? Have you paid your taxes? Do you have health insurance? Are you paying your team? What is your business structure? Is your structure optimized? What's your budget? Do you have a plan for how you're going to scale? How are you going to onboard team members? And so we really work through the nuts and bolts of like everything that helps you financially sustain your business.
Got you. Is that like a weekly course? Is that
It's a one-time course.
Okay,
it's a one-time course. And then people who attend are also getting access to our intensive. So the intensive will be taught in mid-October.
Got you. So intensive. Define what that is. Like,
I'm actually bringing in an accountant, so they'll actually get to work with an accountant. I'm bringing in an accountant, a business credit specialist, my operations manager for my brands, my entire my umbrella is Her Legacy Media. So my operations person who manages my companies, as well as I'll be there answering questions.
Got you. That's what so I've counted 4 or 5 businesses. Where we at, Mike? Okay, there it is. Mike said he's
like, that sounds so bad.
No.
And we got a Turo business.
Boom. Now, congratulations on that, because you just got the cars recently.
Thank you.
Yes, super dope.
It's another beast.
Got you. Talk about that a little bit in the sense of Turo. Like where do you put the cars at? I'm not familiar with Turo.
So with Turo, my goal for Turo, like, I wanted cars that I would like to drive that
Okay.
I didn't want the note for. But we also wanted to bring in additional money. And so my husband, he runs the Turo business, but I was able to buy one of the cars under my business credit. He bought one of the cars himself. We're looking at potentially purchasing more cars.
Mhm.
Thing about Turo is it's not as passive as some people assume, especially when you're just getting started out. And if you are making it automated, you're eating into your profit margins because you're paying someone to do that work when that you have to pay them. So it's going to eat into your profits. So right now we are a little more hands-on. Like I've literally been at the car wash vacuuming out the car. And I was like, you know what? This has to end. I'm buying a vacuum for the house so we can wash the cars at our house and everything else. It's the summertime. Let's do it while it's the summertime.
Gotcha.
But it's, one of the things they tell you is detach from the cars. Don't have an emotional connection to the cars because people will treat your cars any type of way. First time we have a CLA. First time the CLA went out for a rental, it came back with damage.
It's a Benz too.
Yeah, like pretty little thing. Like we call her. So we have all white cars,
Okay.
Snowfleet, and that's Snow White.
Gotcha.
So she came back, and I just saw. I was like, "Bruh, first rental, and we hit the girl up. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know that happened." And so that would like kind of set the tone for just what we have to expect. Comes back with, it has the AMG kit on it. Comes back, tires, road rash, like all over the tires. Someone drove the CLA to a concert here. Someone bust out the window. So then we had another rental in 24 hours. So within 24 hours, we had to figure out how to repair the window, tint it, because we have a black kit on it. So we had to tint the windows because they're like blacked out. 24 hours scrambling to find someone to repair the window and tint it.
That's stressful.
It is. I was like, man, they can take that damn car. I was like, come get this car.
I love this, Tanya. It's a different Tanya from the master. I love it.
I really was like, y'all can take this damn car. But we have a Jeep Gladiator.
Okay.
Different renter. Jeep Gladiator has gone out the same amount of times as the CLA. Does not have any damage.
What do you think that is?
Different renter. CLA.
But
the CLA. Oh, first of all, the way the car sits, and that's one of the things we've learned. Like the next car we're getting is high off the ground.
Okay.
Because our CLA it's
lower.
It's lower. It's kitted out. Like people can't. They like the way it looks, but they might not know how to drive it. Everybody's not good drivers. And so, with our Gladiator, it's a Jeep. It's durable. Like we have those big tires on it. Everything else. And then I hate to say this, because statistically, women are supposed to be better drivers. But our Gladiator, mostly men rent the car. And we have not had one issue with our Gladiator.
I'm going to need you not to repeat that ever again. You just answered your own question.
I felt so bad saying it. I was like, are women
don't
really
feel bad.
drivers?
The truth. Hey, we talk about the truth here. It's a safe space. It's not toxic here. It's the truth.
I was like, but I'm a great driver.
I hear you.
I have never been in a car accident.
I never judged you. I'm just telling you about the stats.
I was like, wow. Yeah, so they're different cars. So now we know my husband wants to expand and get another car because, like, right now, our Gladiator has someone who's renting it monthly, and they are covering the note. Plus, like, we have like a $1,600 margin on that, and so my husband's like, let's get more. Where we park them right now in our driveway, we have we are actually getting our driveway extended.
Okay.
Right now at our driveway, but we've also toyed around maybe buying property, maybe renting out a lot, renting out a location. A few office buildings we've been looking at, we could park them there. So we're thinking about what that looks like.
Gotcha. I've looked into it. I just don't know that I would be comfortable having the cars on my driveway because I don't want to be accessible like that, I don't think.
Yeah, and it depends on what kind of cars you get too. Like some people rent out high luxury vehicles. I think our next one might be an economy car. And we also live near the airport. So
that's beautiful for you, yeah.
We are 13 minutes away from the airport. So I'm to the point where somebody lands and says, pick me. Some people text me and be like, hey, I just landed, and I can wait 10 minutes and go get them. And they're just walking out. Like that's
that question. So you charge a fee to pick them up?
We do. We charge a fee to pick up, even though.
But if you're not available, does that hurt you from making money off that?
I mean, we are available though. Okay. Like because me and my husband work for ourselves. We were on vacation, but we just made arrangements for our nanny to like drop the car off at the airport parking lot and leave it there for somebody.
Okay. So
and our nanny also, we did hire her to do fulfillment for Club Lufa. So we're also very efficient. So
you cross-training in that thing.
Yeah. And she's good to the point where she went on vacation. I was like, how do we do this? Like, I hadn't touched it in so long. I was like, where is everything? How do I fold these up again?
And she has value then.
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
How'd you find her? I might have to do that.
Well, she's been our nanny since my son was 6 months. She lived in LA. She lived in LA, actually across the street from us.
Gotcha. So you had a
And
personal relationship with her.
we did. And then when we were moving to Atlanta, and we were like, we're moving to Atlanta. And she's like, I don't want to live in LA no more. I was
Mm.
like, you want to come? She was like, yeah. It's like, we get space for you in the house. You want to live with us? She was like, yeah. Okay.
I want your type of life. You know what I'm saying? Like, man.
And she's amazing. And one of the things that's really important about that dynamic, though, is like open communication, like really talking to people. And one of I really pride myself on all the people who work for me is I'm really good to people. Like, I'm really understanding. I'm accommodating until it doesn't make sense anymore. And so nobody can say that I was a bad boss or supervisor or wasn't understanding or compassionate.
Understood.
Because having worked in a toxic work environment, people can choose to work with me or they can choose not to. Like, there's other jobs out here. And if you're going to choose to work with me, I want to make it as pleasant of an experience. And that even goes to her. We live in a house together. So it's like, if you ain't happy, the energy in the house is messed up. So how do we maintain this energy? What do you need? Like, what do you need? Do you need time off? Even to the point where I believe in boundaries, but I also believe in flexibility. There might be things that are in the contract. I'm like, she's been working. We've been going hard this week and she's been working. You want the week, like, you want a couple of days off during the weekday. Well, and plus I also like hanging with my son because he's awesome.
Gotcha.
So I have to like block days out and I'll be like, look, I'm taking him to the aquarium. Me and him are going to have a mommy day. Go get a manicure, get a massage, whatever you want today, just take it off. It's on the counter, just take it off.
Is she always on the clock?
No. I mean, like last night, her and my son made pizza for us for dinner. So she worked a little later, but she enjoys him too.
Gotcha.
Like, she's been with him since he was 6 months.
So it's family.
Yeah, like she calls him
Awesome.
like she calls it like my unborn child. Like she's watched him grow up, you know?
Gotcha.
For her, sometimes even off the clock, it's like.
Gotcha. Nice. Now, what is your ultimate goal with everything that you have going on?
Yeah. I want to sell Club Lufa.
Okay.
My goal is to sell that. My goal has been to scale it and sell it. So I want to sell that probably within like 2 to 3 years. My Fab Finance, right now, I actually just onboarded my first person who's going to coach outside of me. I just hired my first coach.
Okay.
So that takes me out of the financial coaching process. She actually was a writer for us for 2 years, and now we've hired her on as a financial coach. So pulling myself out those processes and allowing myself to execute the vision, maybe sell that down the line. My personal brand, I don't know. I enjoy it right now. And the great thing about my personal brand is if I don't want to offer another cohort, I don't offer another cohort. I want to say, if I say, you know what, I'm trading full time now, I can't. So my goal is just continue to set things up to be flexible to where I want to be in life. But definitely Club Loop, I want to sell. My Fab Finance, I want to sell.
Got you. You gave me a call one time. Yo, Eric, I'm looking to get some real estate, but I got questions. You know what I mean?
Questions.
Get your questions out. Let's talk about it.
Questions, because I just feel like and before I bought my house, I felt like real estate felt overwhelming.
It can
Bought
be.
my house. I was like, this wasn't that bad.
Okay.
People do it every day. You can figure this out.
Okay.
Now I want to buy a property.
Okay.
Now I have the money sitting to buy an investment property. And I'm like, where do I want to buy? So that was one of the things you really helped me with.
Now, real quick, though.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why you want to buy.
So I want to buy to build my real estate portfolio. I believe, so as a financial educator, I believe in diversifying my assets. And I want to have real estate and property as an asset because most of the time, if you purchase wisely, it's going to appreciate. That's an appreciating asset. But it also helps me build up my net worth for other investments I want to make down the line.
I love it.
So becoming an accredited investor, or if I decide I want to purchase a hotel or go in as a partner for a hotel down the line, I have that net worth there to back it up.
Understand. And you could always leverage the equity.
I can leverage. Yes, I can leverage the equity. It's just, when we think about most of the millionaires who've been created, a lot of them have been created because of real estate, or at least some in lending to something related to real estate.
Got you.
And so I believe in making my money work for me. And I want to do buy and hold. We've spoken about that. Flipping ain't for me.
Yeah, you ain't got time.
I saw that video you posted at that house. You posted it was like an Instagram reel or something, and you were in a house. I said, ain't no way. It gave me anxiety looking at that house. I'm not the bird person.
The uglier the house, the more potential.
I know. I ain't built for that. I want to walk in and it's pretty. It's ready for me to just move somebody in. So, understanding what type of investor I am. And you really helped me get clarity on that.
Awesome. And so let's talk about our conversation. So basically you was just like, you were looking to get rental properties. And then for me was to understand how much time you had and how much money.
Yeah.
Because it's important to understand those two valuable assets to
Mhm.
understand what was the best way for you to go.
Yeah.
Considering everything you currently have. And we didn't know each other like we do today, but I asked you that, you were able to tell me like, hey, I don't have that much time.
Mhm.
And that's when I told you about turnkey.
Yes.
And buying turnkey, for those who don't know, means it's ready to go. It's pretty.
It's ready to
And,
go.
and
That thing
listen,
can go on HGTV. It's
there
ready.
it is. There it is. So we want it ready to go. That means that you would have to have 20% of a down payment for it
Mhm.
typically. So every time that you would get, approximately 20%, you put it down. And then at that moment, you start accruing them. When you're
Yeah.
ready to retire, then you have all the assets there. You know what I'm saying? So one thing to consider when you do that is that you want to buy everything currently right now, 200,000 and under.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we
That fits
use
into my price range.
Yep, because we basically use the 1% rule to rent out. So the
Mhm.
1% rule is going to tell you your potential rents.
Yes.
Meaning that if you bought the house for 150,000, your potential rent
1,500.
could be about 1,500,
Mhm.
and that's kind of how we want to assess it.
And which is crazy. And one of the other helpful things you maybe helped me think about was the markets.
Mm,
Because here in the Atlanta market, it's very challenging to get something that's going to fit into that 1% rule.
got you.
It's not the best rental market. But then I love how in our conversation, there were places I wasn't even thinking about.
Mhm.
And you were like, Memphis. It's
Mhm.
the heart of America. Like
Mhm.
there's renters and the
Mhm.
housing stock isn't that expensive. You
Mhm.
can really buy there. You're going to have tenants there. Or
Mhm.
thinking about those Midwestern cities, because everybody thinks about the bigger cities, but those Midwestern cities.
And for me, we desire emotionally to live near the coast,
Yes.
water. That's why the appreciation in LA is crazy. There's
Mhm.
not enough land. There's no more land. And so houses are just going to keep skyrocketing.
Mhm.
The Midwest is not as desirable, but it's more affordable for that
And
purpose.
people still live there. Yep.
100%. And there are more blue collar workers in those areas. They're, not to say that they're not entrepreneurs and successful people,
Mhm.
but it's more of a blue collar type of environment. Therefore, somewhere like Memphis is the hub for FedEx, UPS.
Mhm.
People want to live near the hub. Therefore, if you have rental properties near those areas, like you're going to always have somebody in there that could afford because they have a job
Yeah.
and it's affordable. When it's affordable and they have the resources to pay for it, that just gives you consistency.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's what I want.
And to be honest, we want long-term renters.
And that's another thing I've been learning. It's like
Mm-hmm.
long-term
Yeah,
renters. What type
yeah.
of house? Like look for 3-2s.
3-2s. There you go.
Like
There you go.
3-2s. Like not a 3-1, but 3-2s.
It's a family.
Yeah.
Somebody has their personal bathroom. The kids have theirs, and they begin to own it.
Mhm.
It's almost a situation to where like they start taking care of it as like it's theirs for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, because
And
they
we
have
want
that pride in being there. It's
Mhm.
not transitional.
Now, when you start going above 200,000 and your rents are like $3,000, I don't encourage that typically. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I don't encourage that typically because if I could afford $3,000 for rent, I'm just really in a situation where I'm passing by. I'm trying to fix my credit. Something happened, and I'm just trying to bounce back to then purchase.
Exactly.
So I don't want you in
Exactly.
a situation where you're turning over because when you're turning over tenants consistently, what then is going to occur is you're going to have to make the repairs. You're going to have to continue to paint over and over and things like that. So now it's taken away from your bottom line. When they're in there for 5 years, they clean their own carpet, they clean their own walls because it's their house.
It's their house. Like
You
they
know.
literally just paying you.
Mhm.
So you're in Indiana.
Yep, Indianapolis, Indiana. Yeah, yeah.
Would you buy anywhere else?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would. But this is what I have systems at home where they work. I got my team. I just kind of keep them working. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I ain't supposed to tell y'all this, but I'm real comfortable with my situation. So, like, you know what I mean? But I am gonna start buying tax liens.
Are you? I want to
Mhm.
learn about that because when you're buying tax liens, you have to have all the money up front.
Yes.
Okay, so you can't finance a tax lien.
Yeah, but it's cool though. I can show you how to get some bread, Tanya. Although you out here killing it, I can show you how to get some money.
But there's always more money to be gotten. I always
Yes,
say.
but we want to leverage other people's money.
Exactly.
So you got an accountant, right?
Yeah.
Your accountant manages your books.
Yeah.
Your accountant manages other people with money's books.
Oh.
So you could just say, hey, I'm looking for some money to get some properties. You could literally say, I'm willing to give them 8 to 10% of their money. and I'll give you 2% if you find them as a finder's fee.
Hmm.
Now they're motivated to, we could create you a private lending package, meaning what you have to offer to your lenders,
Yeah.
and then you could acquire properties cash.
So what would this be considered? What is
A
that?
private loan.
Oh, a private loan.
Yeah, it's
okay.
from me to you. There's a contract that we put between each other, and we get it notarized.
So when
It's a
you pay them back
private
their 8%, is that if you're doing buy and hold? How are you paying back their 8%?
So this is what you get on buy and hold is a little different, but this is what I would do. You want to buy houses cash. The market is so competitive right now that in Indianapolis, for every household, there's 22 buyers.
Indianapolis.
So like that's just like that could be very disheartening, right?
Yeah.
And time consuming. You keep putting offers and you keep losing.
Yeah.
But most people are losing right now because they don't have cash on hand.
Yeah, because cash buyers are coming in and taking it.
So what if you got money through private lending, and you basically bought the house cash, and then you paid it back to them because you refinanced it.
Got you.
So it's an acquisition. It's an acquisition tool right there, though.
Okay.
Because now you don't have to use your money, though.
So I'm asking. Okay, so I'm curious about this. So you can refinance a tax lien property that you purchased?
Mm-hmm. It basically gets deeded over to you. That's a different process.
Okay.
So in that situation, the process to a tax lien means this. It is different in every city, but the standard, there's the date. You have the date. So let's just say, for example, it's September 15th.
Okay.
That's when the tax auction is going to happen. They're going to have 100 properties. You're interested in 10.
Okay.
All right. Now, your goal is to get at least 3 of them. So you're going to go get $500,000. You're going to turn in that $500,000. They'll tell you 2 days before the auction.
Okay.
That means that you cannot bid over that amount.
Okay.
So now you know the auction is going. Boom, you got property 1. You know what I'm saying? You won it. That property was worth $200,000. Now you know that you could compete up to $300,000 more.
Got you. Okay.
Yep. So now you acquired the property. In this situation, I would not negotiate a 10% loan. It might be like 3 or 5%.
Okay.
Because once you get the property, now you just need 30 more days to refinance it with a bank and giving that person their money back.
Got you. Even if the house isn't even in the best condition.
Nope.
Now
that's the caveat there, right? So when you're doing that, you have to go to the property, but they cannot let you in. So you're looking through windows. Therefore, I would assess the property at its worst condition. So I'm assuming that if it's a 3-2, those 2 bathrooms are destroyed. That's $6,000. That's $12,000 in just bathrooms. I'm assuming the kitchen is destroyed. We're going to allocate $8,000 there. That's a basic renter kitchen. I'm going to assume that the floors are done. If it's 1,300 square foot, that's $4 per square foot for the materials, for the vinyl plank and the labor. So we're going to assume the worst repairs in conditions where we cannot see the whole property.
And you're factoring that into your purchase.
Right. Repairs, we always factor in potential repairs.
So when you are now I'm asking all the questions.
Yeah.
So you're looking at tax lien. So do you get a listing of the properties beforehand, and you can go and like say, okay, I'm interested in buying this one. So when it comes up, I'm submitting for this one.
Yes.
So you check it out beforehand, and then when it comes up, you're like, that's the property I wanted. Let me go ahead and bid on it.
Now, so 100%, right?
Okay.
You could do that now virtually in a lot of counties because during Corona or during the COVID, there were no live auctions. So they started going digitally. So you could do this with your Google Maps and actually go down the street and actually look at the home like that.
Wow, and then you make your offers virtually.
Yeah, but that's why, remember, I'm telling you to look at the timeline at the bottom. You want to make sure that that most recent picture is 2020, 2021.
So you mentioned $500,000 for buying tax liens. I always assume like you can get tax liens for like $80,000 at properties.
You can, but this was happening. You're just paying for the taxes due on the property, so they may start at $5,000.
You get the entire property
for $5,000, but you're thinking like everybody else. So everybody else is the property's value is gonna go up. It's an auction, so by the time it's sold, it's gonna come up to 80, 90,000.
Oh, because people are buying. It's starting at what the taxes are due, but they understand the true value of the house.
Correct.
Got you. So other investors are like, nah, that house is worth $200,000. I'm willing to go up to $100,000 on this property that started at $5,000.
Boom. So what you would do is figure out the ARV of the property, the after repair value.
I would say after repair value.
There you go. So if the after repair value is $200,000, boom. We always want to buy property. We always want to buy properties 70% to ARV. That
Got
means the
you.
max we're investing in this is going to be $140,000.
Got you.
All right. Now, if the property is beat up pretty bad, and we're going to assume the worst repairs, we're going to say it's going to take us $60,000 for this three bedroom, 2-bath house.
So
60,000.
at the
So now that's 60,000. Boom. Now we know we have $80,000 as our max bid.
Ooh, got it.
We work it backwards.
Yeah.
So again, ARV, 70% of ARV is 140. We assume repairs, and then now we know our max bid value.
See, I'm glad we talked about this because my thought was like you just show up at the auction and start bidding on stuff without doing your research. You just show up, be like, oh, that looks cute. But no, it's work that you need to do beforehand to make sure that you're going to be able to make your numbers on the back end.
Facts.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll get emotionally attached to how cute it is, and you're gonna overbid. So that's why we have a strategy.
That would be me. They'd be like, man, she in here losing right now. She don't even know it.
Yeah, so that's how we get down with that, man.
Got you.
So I'm gonna start doing that because there's opportunity there. Not everybody is skilled and or understands more that process. You know what I mean?
How long did it take you to work up to that?
So I would say that my background in investing, I started flipping coming into it in 2014, 15, and I was making like $27,000 on my first flip, 17, 23, but it didn't make sense. I was making $15,000, $20,000 a week in her hair. So my time wasn't spent wisely at a project for 3 months for 27. I might as well get a job. So I decided that I wanted to become a buy and hold investor because my ultimate gain was to make sure that my retirement is secure by the time I'm 45. So my goal at the time was to get 100 rentals, and I currently have right around 18 right now.
Okay.
So I slowed down. I had got sick for 2 years, and so that kind of slowed me up. But I was buying 10, 11 at a time. I was every 2 months. I was in a new project. And then I started getting other teams, but I slowed down just because I started doing other things. And during the pandemic, I started the Entrepreneur, where I teach investors how to get free rental properties. And that 70% equation will allow you to understand if that fits in there. Therefore, you can get the property free. Because you have all this lending, right? But any bank is going to give you 80% to ARV when they refinance. Therefore, if your numbers are underneath that, you're basically getting the property for free. But that's the rehab. But that's the rehab part. I know that ain't your route.
I just want somebody to do it for me. Here goes my money. Let's just make it work.
Got you. But I told you, there are people, and for those listening, there are people out there that sell turnkey rental properties.
Yeah.
And you could just Google that. You might want to do a little bit of research and get testimonials or to speak to some of their clients. The reason why you want to do that is just because you want to know what their experience was buying from them. But that is the way that you need to go.
Where do you find someone like that? Turnkey rental properties.
Like I said, you could go on Google, but I'm literally looking at certain areas, Midwest, just because it's affordable. My money goes so much further.
Yeah, I've been looking at Birmingham, Alabama.
Got you.
I know guys 2 hours from Atlanta.
I know guys that invest in that area as well.
You know anybody that's turnkey?
Not in Birmingham, but we could do some research to get that done.
I'm like, I think Birmingham is going to be the market for me.
Got you.
Right now.
Got you. You got people down there?
I don't. But it does have significance to me.
Okay.
But I want to invest in the South. And I was thinking about this when I was driving, that for me, investing in the South is significant. Being a Black woman whose families are descendants of African-American slaves. I remember I had a speaking engagement in Mississippi, and I drove down from Memphis, and it's the first time in my life I'd ever seen cotton fields. And I was like, my ancestors toiled in these fields. And the thought of me buying property there is just so powerful to me. Like buying property in areas where my ancestors once toiled.
I love it.
So, yeah, I know I want to buy in the South.
I love it. Got you. I know the Midwest, so that's why I'm good there. But I am coming down to the South to get some tax liens. Just so you know this too, they have over the counters too.
What's that?
So over the counter mean anything that did not sell.
So
anything that did not sell.
Basic cleanup crew. Like you get the things that.
And that's where you really win.
Where do you find those at?
So
Can we
after,
go on a field trip, Eric? Like, can we go on an over-the-counter field
hey,
trip?
hey, we're gonna be hosting masterminds in Indianapolis. You know what I'm
Oh, I got to
saying?
do it in Indianapolis. I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
do it over-the-counter
But
in
you can get the
Alabama.
game with me, and then we
Yeah.
could apply it anywhere.
Yeah,
What
that's
I'm
true.
teaching people, they could apply it
Because
anywhere.
everywhere does over-the-counters.
Yep. So they call it a surplus sale in certain areas.
Okay.
But basically, that's whatever's left, and those are going to be the ugliest houses. But that's where the sauce is at. So you know what I mean. You got me out here spitting the game now. It's about you though, but it's all good. You know what I mean. We learning. We
Listen,
learning.
I'm going to learn. About anything, I'm going to learn.
Yeah, but I think that for somebody like yourself doing so much, turnkey is the best because, like you said, you want to focus on the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
But I think that our freedom when we get older is what is gonna, we're gonna be able to see that. Oh, okay, yeah, I made a lot of money, but I invested a lot, and now we can reap the fruits of our labor, and that's what
Yeah.
real estate does for us. And that's what I'm trying to help other people achieve.
Even with my parents, my mother and father, they're retired from the military, and right now they actually just sold their house in Charlotte, North Carolina. So they bought a house outside of Tampa, about an hour south of Tampa, and so they're living with us until their house is ready. And just seeing their freedom, like my mom and dad, their freedom, and they
Stress
get to play
free.
with their grandson. My dad be like, I think I want to go to the shooting range today, or today I'm going to go out and I'll cut the grass, ride my Harley because he brought his Harley down. Like, I'm gonna ride my bike. It's like they don't have to worry about anything. And my dad just had his second retirement this year. He went back and worked for the state so that he could make sure they were financially good. I don't want to wait until I'm 60 to live like that.
Facts.
I appreciate it for them, but I don't want to wait until I'm 60 to
Nah,
live like
I'm
that.
trying to do that at 45,
Right.
5 years around the corner.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to live like that. Yeah. I mean, and to an extent, I live like that to an extent, but I still got to work for it. And that's one of
Facts.
the reasons that real estate and trading are of interest to me, because I think that as an entrepreneur, you first start by like replacing your income from your previous 9 to 5. But then the focus is like, I've replaced my income. What's next? My next is like growing my income and allowing my money to work for me.
No doubt.
And that's the phase I'm in, so that where you aren't working for your money anymore. I
Come on
technically
now.
still work for my money.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. It's like, okay, how does my money work for me so that if I decide that I don't want to launch a course, if I decide I don't want to take a brand partnership, if I don't want to talk to nobody, I'm
You
still
still good.
financially good.
Yeah. So, man, before we wrap up, I do want you to remind the people where they could get with you, tap in with you, and get all this empowerment, especially for your new endeavor and your new course. You know what I'm saying? Let them know.
Yeah, so you can find me at Tonya.Rapley. That's TONYA.RAPLEY. My website is TanyaRapley.com. And we're making some really exciting changes. So make sure you sign up for our mailing list. You can text me. My text, you can go to Wealthy Text. So that's text with an S at the end.com. So Wealthy Text. And you can sign up for my my SMS list, my text messaging list, and you'll get updates from there as well.
Got you. Now, for you that were listening or intrigued in the real estate conversation that we had, don't forget that we got the mentorshipcalls.com. The mentorshipcalls.com, basically from 8 o'clock to 9 a.m., basically every morning, Monday through Friday, we're talking about wholesales, deal acquisitions, finance, and credit. And we got a book club. Therefore, you're going to be able to tap in with other investors from all around the country, and you're going to be able to network. You may find your partner in there. So tap in, man. It's free for your first 7 days. After that, it's $47 a month. Get in the community. There's power in proximity. So tap in, and don't forget to tell a friend to share this, like this, man, subscribe, and we'll see you on the other side.